I'm Rad Universe. This is going to be another Rad Story. And this is going to be a Rad Story from the 1990s. The very late 1990s. I've talked a lot about my time working at Funcoland and painting a picture of late 90s through the lens of retro video games and just what it was like being a teenager at that time for my generation. There was another piece going on from my generation in the late 90s, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, and that was Phish, the jam band scene. Something that's been going around for a long time, but really kind of hit with a lot of people that I knew in high school, particularly around the time Farmhouse came out. That came out in actually May of 2000, and that was right around the time I was graduating from high school. And up to that point, I know Phish was touring with a lot of the material from that record. So like, I'm looking at 1999. I'm looking at actually 20 years ago, right now, October 1999. And my story is about a really crazy journey experience that I had tripping on acid and having one of the most told stories of my life, a story I've wanted to capture and preserve in its finality once and for all, which I'm trying to do here, because the show that this all took place was October 3rd, 1999, and today's October 2nd, 2019, and tomorrow will be the 20-year anniversary from when this happened. So I felt it was very appropriate to tell this story now. So, in the late 90s, going from my junior year to senior year of high school, there was definitely a lot of transition, and I was coming from being very, very versed in extreme heavy metal, listening to a lot of black metal and death metal, and I had their Jackson Randy Rhoads Flying V guitar and doing my guttural voice and working on my whirlwind headbanging with speed picking. This was my world, and I was not originally very open to the jam band scene, although I had a connection to jazz through bass playing and through my role in jazz band in high school. I was interested in improvisation, and there were pieces of Phish that interested me, and some of the stuff that was a little bit more on the technical side, it had a similar feeling for me as what I got from metal and ultimately jazz fusion and that kind of music, as I was influenced at that time. So I'll never forget a friend of mine who wanted to get me into Phish. Sounds like a buzz is at the door. I'm gonna let this one go. If it buzzes again, we also will not answer it, because I truly believe it's probably a package being delivered or something not too important to cut this footage right now. So that's the second buzz. We're just gonna let it go. If it buzzes a third time, maybe I'll get up and get it. I'm not sure, but I want to return to our focus, okay? So, a friend of mine who wanted to get me into Phish, knowing very well the metalhead that I was, and wanting to give me a good first introduction to kind of understand why he loved Phish so much and loved going to the shows. And he played me You Enjoy Myself, and he played it from a live one. He played it from that double disc. I think that was from 1995, that I'd seen in record stores for a long time, but never listened to, didn't even have a context. And I remember being very impressed with the virtuosity of the the head of that song, and it was like a little bit more on the technical side, and it wasn't as heavy as a lot of the technical metal that I was listening to, but because I was also into a lot of the Norwegian progressive metal as well. I was really into Spiral Architect at this time. That was a huge influence for me as well. And yeah, I was just getting into Phish for the first time, and was like, okay, like this is kind of cool. I guess I'd be open to checking it out. All right, we're gonna have to pause now, so 1 second. That was most unexpected. So in my building, we have neighbors that live above us, and I think the first of the 2 doorbell rings was a package being dropped off, but it was not for I or my family. It was for the family upstairs, and in the process, they accidentally got locked out, and then they rang our other doorbell, and we're able to use my phone, and hopefully they'll get that figured out soon. And that happens. Our neighbors are important. Got to take care of our neighbors. But wow, that cut off a little bit of momentum there, but that's okay. I'm going to return myself to focus. And I know I was talking about getting introduced to Phish and the song You Enjoy Myself from a live one from 1995, the double disc that came out. That was kind of my introduction, and I was open to going to Phish shows. And I was also open to experimental drugs at this time as well. And I had been a long time pot smoker, and around sophomore, junior year of high school is when I started first experimenting with mushrooms and acid. And I had both very positive and very negative experiences with both. And I think there was sort of like this allure of having the most excellent tripping experience at a Phish show. That was sort of like, wow, like that sounds pretty cool. Like I've heard some people having some really great experiences at Phish shows, and man, if I can do that at some point, that'd be awesome. So there was some Phish shows I went to, but none that I actually had tripped on acid at. And it wasn't until having tickets for a particular show at the Allstate Arena, which used to be the Rosemont Horizon, the Allstate Arena in Illinois, outside Chicago. And it was going to be Phish. And it was like a weeknight. It was like a school night. But got the ticket. This was the beginning of my senior year of high school. And I went with a group of friends. And I had this vision. I'm going to have this amazing tripping experience at this Phish show. And I had done some preparation for this. I am not a connoisseur of acid. I don't know a whole lot about acid except for what my experience was buzzing from other people in late high school and talking about Phish shows and journeys and everything like that. So it got to this stage where I had heard that purple gel tabs were like the cream of the crop. Like if you want to have like a really good trip, you want to find really good acid, you want to get these purple gel tabs. And I remember like I had a lead for this at one point, and I was able to get them in advance, and I had them in a little Ziploc bag that I had stashed with me, and I had brought them with me, and I had gone to the Phish show with a carpool of friends. I was not driving, And I was determined to, like, I'm going to take these before the show, and it's going to be amazing. So when we get to the parking lot and we're sort of discussing the plan for the night, we all sort of determine where we're going to meet after the show. We're going to meet at the Greenpeace table. And we all had different tickets. Some of us had general admission. Some of us had specific seats. Teats. Some of us had specific seats. And I remember the person who was driving was able to get into the show earlier than everybody else. And it was just kind of, we weren't a solid group altogether, right? And I remember before going into the building, I want to take my purple gel tabs first, so I don't have to carry them in, because I was nervous about getting searched and finding the purple gel tabs. I was very nervous about holding that, I remember. But this was going to be an amazing experience, right? So I went in, I decided I'm going to break away from the group before I come in. I'm just going to go into the parking lot. I'm going to find a secluded spot to take out my little Ziploc bag and take my purple gel tabs. Because I was totally nervous to do this just anywhere. I had to go, like, in a secluded spot. So I walked off and I went in between, like, two parked cars, like, and kind of out of sight. And when I opened the bag and took the purple gel tabs out, they blew out of my hand. And I completely lost them. And I don't know how that happened. It certainly was a warning sign that, perhaps maybe you don't want to take acid tonight. Maybe. I didn't see any of that at that point. I was really disappointed with the fact that I lost my purple gel tabs. And at that moment, I just was kind of like, oh my God, I'm at a Phish show. I'm in the parking lot scene. I can just find drugs anywhere. Like, I had already had this first impression of this, drug fest. So I just start parading around the parking lot with my finger up saying, who's got my doses? Who's got my doses? And I'm pretty sure within about 5 minutes, some heady dude was like, yo man, I got your doses. And he had a vial of something. And I have no idea exactly what it was. It wasn't purple gel tabs. It was some heady bro in the parking lot scene at the Phish show. And he had my doses. And I was chewing gum, and he was able to, I think for $5 or $10, put a couple drops on my gum, and I went back on my merry way and went into the arena. That's how the story begins. I had an intention, I had a detour I was not expecting, and then I had, wait a minute, I'm at a Phish show. and I opened up to chance, to anything. And here's what happened. I am not with my group at this point. I'm on my own, and nothing has kicked in yet. And I get into Allstate Arena, and I'm in the hallway. And one of the first things that happens is I'm by a bathroom, and another friend of mine, who I have spent a lot of time with, especially in junior high school, someone I was in one of my first bands with, comes out of the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? And we were able to immediately stick together for the first part of the Phish show. It was nice to run into an old friend and kind of get oriented, because I otherwise was on my own, and my only clue was really like, when the show's over, I'm going to meet my group back at the Greenpeace table. So I hung out with my friend, and turns out we both didn't have general admission. We had specific assigned seats. And we knew that like once we kind of got into our assigned seats in that area, once the lights went off, we could potentially hop over and get into the general admission area. So that was our plan and our strategy. And we decided to first go to our seats, and then we started like creeping up towards the balcony to jump over into the general admission area. And we did that, and I remember the lights went off, and Phish starts playing First Tube, and we hop over, and we're all of a sudden like in a rave. And my acid that I had taken just started to kick in at this point. And I think First Tube was one of the first like songs that they were kind of hinting at that would be on the Farmhouse record, because this was October 1999. I think they were using this as a set opener at a few shows on this tour for sure. And that was like spacey. It was spacey, and they had a really incredible light show. And I'm with my buddy who's quite a bit taller than me, maybe a good like 6 or 8 inches taller than me. And we're hanging out and dancing, and I'm starting to just like feel really good, and starting to just like have like a visual experience with the lights and the music and just this like environment of joy and dancing, and it was really wonderful. And then we decided to start going a little bit closer to the stage, because we were really kind of in the back of this big general admission pool of people, and we had successfully hopped over to get in, and we're just kind of like on our own, like, and we kept moving up, and I started to get more introspective and started thinking about like, where's my place in this world? Where do I belong? I'm searching for my place. I'm having a real spiritual journey, and I'm going through the motions of advancing around through the crowd with somewhat of a specific goal, getting closer to the stage. At one point, my buddy said, I don't think I can go any further forward. I'm too tall. And when he said that to me, I had this sudden thought that perhaps everybody in this random pool of people here is somehow organized by height. I'm supposed to find my group of people that are the same height as me. If my friend is in the back with the taller people, he's hanging out with his taller people folk, and I'm looking for people that are my size. And this whole sort of like searching for my tribe, searching for my group, my place, where do I belong, what is my life purpose? I was experiencing all of this, and at one point I thought perhaps everyone here is organized by their ethnic background and all of our different features. I'm all of a sudden standing around other people with blonde hair, and my buddy had dark hair and was taller, and it was about community and finding connection with people. And all this is happening with Phish playing through their first set of music, one song into the next, amazing journey. I'm imagining myself as pure energy. I'm imagining myself as a squiggly line. I don't want to be a straight line who's not in motion. I want to be buzzing and in motion and moving and being free, and I'm a squiggly line. And I'm a squiggly line who is squiggling around looking for exactly my spot to be. And at that point, I then thought, oh, I need to find the girl I've always been destined to be with. And at one moment, I was in what I perceived as my place with people my height and with a shared connection of ancestry. I saw a random girl dancing who looked at me and smiled and was sort of like, come near me. And I remember at that point, I'm thinking about life purpose and contemplating my place, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is the person I'm supposed to be with. And I put my arm around this person, and all of a sudden upon doing that, her smile turned to a frown and was like, no. And I immediately felt a shot in my heart and was like, no, that's not it. Or this was not the one. Or I must change my focus now. And at that moment, I looked up at the stage and I connected with Mike Gordon, who I thought was looking right at me and telling me, you belong in the band. You belong on the stage. And I felt a beam of light connect with me and Mike Gordon as I'm illuminated with all of the colors and experiences and vibrancy of these squiggly lines all in motion, like in this primordial soup of a general admission area of a Phish show in an arena, surrounded by numbered seats. The vibrancy of this general pool that I was able to hop into with fortuitous acid on my brain. It was quite the journey, and I proceeded to get closer to the stage. And I kept going forward because I was not supposed to be in a section in the audience with people like me and similar height to me, or I was supposed to go onto the stage. And I got getting closer and closer and closer, and then the lights in the room turned on all of a sudden before I could fully reach the stage. I remember right before it happened, all of a sudden Trey Anastasio was saying something like, "Oh, be right back," and then all of a sudden the lights went on. And then all of a sudden everything changed. I was extraordinarily confused. I did not know what was happening and what was going on. And I did not know if the show was over or if the show was going to continue. I did not know if I was supposed to meet my friends at the Green Peace table now or some other time. And I truly felt lost and very confused. And I went back out into the hallway that surrounds the entire arena. And I remember walking and just seeing these like empty, vague, blank faces of all the people around me, and I felt no one knows what they're doing. We're all in this limbo of it's either going to start or it's going to end, and we don't know. We're just roaming around in circles, not knowing. And it was terrifying. And I was looking for something to ground me to reality. And at first, I was just extraordinarily thirsty. I was so thirsty there was some, and there were lines for everything. I didn't know how to just get water or something, and I remember someone had just come away from a concession stand with a full cup of like Pepsi or Coke with ice in it. And I remember going to this person saying, "Oh my God, please, man, could I please have a sip of your drink? I'm so thirsty. Oh my God." Like, and this guy he's like, "Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I kept going on, and I was looking like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get out of here? I saw a door to the outside, and I opened it up, and I looked, and all I saw construction and orange cones and a big black void that I did not understand, and it was confusing, and I did not know how to find my way home through there. I found a payphone. This was, again, 1999. I don't think I had a cell phone yet. I did not have a cell phone with me at this show. I did not have a connection to the world, to my family, I was not with my group. I was lost. I did not know where my tribe was. And I saw a payphone. I picked up the payphone. I'm gonna call my parents right now and tell them I'm sorry. I'm tripping on acid, and I'm terrified, and I don't know what's going on right now. And I picked up the phone, and there was no dial tone at all, and it was dead. And I kept moving around, and then all of a sudden I ran into another girl that I knew from high school, who was very familiar to me. And I started talking to her and expressed to her how panicked I was, and I don't know what to do. I'm trying to like find where I belong, and I'm really freaked out. And when I couldn't find any connection to reality, couldn't call home, couldn't do what I needed, couldn't go out the door and find my way, I realized the only thing logical I feel like I can do right now is go back to my assigned seat on my ticket stub. If I just go back there, I'll sit in that chair until I figure things out. That's what I'm going to do. And the only problem was I didn't really know how to get back there exactly, and I was very lost. And I started telling this to this girl, and as I'm telling her, she's like, "Here, stand with me, smoke a cigarette. Here, we'll smoke a cigarette." And I'm smoking this cigarette with her, and she's like, "I'm gonna help you. I want to help you." And well, first we gotta calm down. So just chill here, smoke a cigarette, and all's gonna be good. And I'm smoking this cigarette, and I'll never forget. I remember as I was smoking this cigarette, I'm like, "Oh my God, this is a straight line, and I'm standing still, and I'm a straight line." And I remember when I was in the show and feeling this purpose and this journey and everything that was compelling me, I was a squiggly line. I was energy in motion, and I got really nervous. And at some point, I think this girl went to the bathroom, must have said something like, "I'll be right back, and I'm going to help take you back to your seat. I just got to go to the bathroom first." And she goes, and I keep thinking about the cigarette and the straight line, and I just, by myself again, felt I got to start moving again. I got to start moving. And I got to be a squiggly line. And I started walking around, and all of a sudden I saw something familiar. I saw the section that I knew that my assigned seat was in. It was section 101. And it was easy to remember because, again, I was like, oh, 2 straight lines and a circle in between. Wow, that feels a lot like the setup of this arena, this circle of general admission bodies of energy, people surrounded by these straight lines of numbered seats. that was a huge like metaphor, something for me that was going on, and I really wanted to just go back to my assigned seat, and 101 was a number that was really clear for me to understand, and I went up to the curtain, and the security guard checking tickets to make sure you're going in the right area. And I waited my turn to go through, and when it was my turn and he asked, "Can I see your ticket stub?" I went in my pocket, both of my pockets, and my ticket stub was gone. I didn't have my ticket stub. And my ticket stub at this point in this trip was my last connection to reality. It was my last connection to reality. It was my plan of, I'm just going to go back to the seat, sit down, everything's going to be okay. I didn't expect to all of a sudden have no clue what I'm going to do next now. And in that moment, wanting to be a squiggly line, I all of a sudden just ran. I just ran forward into the general admission area again. Straight past all the rows, just straight down. I ran as fast as I could, and it was a complete point of abandon. And then the next thing that happened is the beginning of the trauma, the extraordinary trauma. And I'm gonna pause here, and I'm gonna pick it up in the next segment. So thank you for listening so far. This is a Rad Story. I'm Rad Universe. This is the story of my acid trip at the October 3rd, 1999 Phish concert at the Allstate Arena. And I'll be right back to discuss part 2, the trauma.